Letters from the Sea. In a small coastal village called Windmere, where the waves whispered secrets and the gulls flew in timeless arcs, lived a woman named Alara. She was a painter, quiet and observant, known for her portraits of the sea and skies. Her home, a weathered cottage on a cliff, overlooked the ocean. Every evening, she would sit on the porch, capturing sunsets on canvas, always with an expression that seemed like she was waiting for something, or someone. One spring morning, Alara received a letter in a bottle. The glass was smooth, tinted sea green, and inside was a piece of parchment, aged and salt-stained. The letter was simple. To whoever finds this. I'm writing from a ship called the Astrid, lost in the fog of loneliness. If you are reading this, know that I once believed in love, but I haven't seen it in years. Tell me, what is love like on land? There was no name, just initials, CM. Something about the letter moved Alara deeply. It wasn't the poetry of the words, but the ache they carried. She replied. She placed her own letter in a bottle, cast it into the sea, and waited. Weeks passed. Then another letter arrived. And another. What began as curiosity became habit, then need. She and CM shared their thoughts, dreams, memories. He told her he was a sailor, a cartographer aboard a merchant ship, drifting endlessly from one coast to another. He described stars she'd never seen, islands with glowing sands, storms that roared like beasts. And she, in turn, shared her world, her paintings, the changing winds of Windmere, and the story of her heart that had never quite learned how to beat for another. Months turned to a year. Alara began painting not the sea, but the letters themselves. She framed each one, hung them along her cottage walls. Her friends thought she was mad, speaking of a man she had never met. But she smiled and kept writing. Then, the letters stopped. She waited. Days. Weeks. Storms came, seasons changed, and yet, nothing. Her heart ached in silence. The sea, once her muse, became her enemy. She stopped painting. Her cottage dimmed. One autumn evening, as twilight kissed the horizon, a knock came at her door. There stood a man, tall, windswept, with eyes like the deep ocean and hands rough from rope and salt. I'm CM, he said, voice shaking. I followed the coast until I found you. Your letters kept me alive. I couldn't stay away anymore. She didn't speak. She simply reached out, touched his cheek, and whispered, "You're real." And he smiled, a smile that felt like sunrise. From that day on, the sea was no longer her rival, it became the bridge that had brought them together. Alara began painting again, but now her works were brighter, filled with warmth and hope. And in a little cottage on the edge of Windmere, two souls who had once wandered alone finally found their way home, through letters, waves, and the wild rhythm of the heart. Letters from the past. In a quiet coastal village named Astoria, where the sea whispered stories to the wind and time seemed to move slower, there lived a young woman named Alara. She was a writer, known for her poetic novels about love and longing, but few knew that her words came from a place deep within her heart, where an old love still lived, hidden beneath years of silence. 10 years earlier, Alara had fallen in love with a boy named Adrian. He was a photographer from the city, visiting the village to capture the untamed beauty of the ocean and cliffs. They met at the lighthouse, where Alara often went to write. Their bond was instant, built upon shared dreams and long walks under the moonlight. That summer was the most beautiful chapter of their lives. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Adrian received a scholarship to study in Paris, and though they promised to write letters, time and distance grew between them like an ocean they couldn't cross. The letters eventually stopped. Alara, heartbroken but determined, buried the memories and turned her pain into art. Now, years later, Alara lived alone in the same old cottage by the cliffs, surrounded by books, waves, and silence. One rainy afternoon, while searching for an old manuscript in her attic, she stumbled upon a small wooden box, one she hadn't seen in years. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All from Adrian. Confused and breathless, she opened them one by one. Each was dated and written with the same passion she remembered. He had never stopped writing. He had sent letters every month for 2 years. But none had ever reached her. Her father, who disapproved of their young love, had hidden them after Adrian left. He had passed away 5 years ago, never revealing the truth. Tears fell from her eyes as she read each word, each promise, each longing. In the last letter, dated exactly 2 years after his departure, Adrian wrote, "If you still think of me, meet me at the lighthouse on the first day of spring, 10 years from the day we first met. If you're not there, I'll know you've moved on. But if you are, I'll be waiting." Her heart raced. Today was the first day of spring. Without hesitation, she grabbed her coat and ran toward the lighthouse, the stormy wind tugging at her hair and clothes. The sea roared beside her, as if cheering her on. As she reached the top of the hill, breathless and soaked, her eyes searched the edge of the cliffs. And there he was. Adrian stood beneath the old lighthouse, a bit older, a bit different, but still him. He held a camera in one hand and a single white rose in the other. Their eyes met. Time collapsed. "Alara," he whispered, stepping forward, voice thick with emotion. "You waited," she said, unable to stop the tears. "I never stopped." They embraced as the wind carried their past away and the sea wrote a new beginning on the shore below. Love, once lost in silence, had found its way back, through words, memories, and the undying hope that the heart never truly forgets.